Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. This presentation is a continuation from the last presentation regarding neglect. It was created from the idea of understanding what neglect is, how it is a form of abuse, how the idea of it has been neglected, and how it may contribute to risk factors of further neglect and abuse by all parties within and without the narcissistic continuum. What this means is that individuals that are hesitant or reluctant to address such concerns are just as accountable as those that are directly neglectful and or abusive. Time, as well as our general human experience, is a continuum. At some point in it, each of us will yield what others have emotionally experienced, whether that be pain, joy, and all emotions in between. For life is just a constant flow of change, or a flow of constant change. But through trials more than treasures, we will lead us to question ourselves and our existence, hopefully to guide us home to the knowledge of the benevolence of who we really are internally, thereby activating our spirit to transcend from the lowest of who we are to our highest spiritual ascension. What that means is that once we begin to internalize that I am not my brother's keeper or my sister's keeper, but rather that I am my brother or my sister in lieu of that, no matter what one's background is, then we will be able to complete our more important work of diminishing and eliminating the social ills that we are accountable for creating and resolving. If physical neglect is all of the forms aforementioned, where does love reside? Why has love, the lack of it, in its physical forms, gone unmentioned? Is love solely emotional? Is it also physical? Or could it be both physical and emotional? If it is at all physical, why has this notion not been noted? In this section, what is love and how is it as it relates to the absence of it among the meanings of neglect? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Or is it physical and emotional? What is love? What is love in regards to the thing as a noun? And this comes from meanings supplied from Merriam Webster's Advanced Learner's English Dictionary, 2008 edition by Merriam Webster, pages 974 to 975. Love is a feeling of strong or constant affection for a person. Love is an attraction that includes sexual desire. Love is a person you love in a romantic way. Love is a kind and helpful person. Love is an expression of love and affection. Love is a feeling of great interest, affection, or enthusiasm for something. Love is also a score of 0 in tennis. Love is a feeling of strong or constant affection for a person. Now that we have explored and observed several meanings of love in regard to its absence as a result of physical neglect, let us examine further what love is in its literal sense. Love is a feeling, love is an affection. So, then what is affection? Affection is love, warmth, tenderness, friendship, feeling, devotion, soft spot, quote unquote, solicitude, fondness, regard, attachment, or close feelings. I want to emphasize that there's some connection, as we can see right here, to warm feelings, tender feelings, soft feelings, and close feelings. So, in essence, having observed those four words that are synonymous with each other, all of those feelings here are positive, good, and well, basically loving. Love is an attraction. Okay, again, love is attraction. Love is attraction that includes sexual desire. But then again, what is attraction? Okay, attraction is appeal, temptation, magnetism, affinity, pull, charm, interest, allure, bewitchment, fascination, enticement, chemistry, quote unquote, and or charisma. In other words, one can infer here that attractions are pulls from something to some other thing. Or in this case, if we're talking about uh, people, a pull or pulls to someone or some other one. And again, as with looking at the meanings of what we looked at before about love being warm feelings and love being close feelings and yada yada yada. These meanings here, looking at you know chemistry, looking at affinity, looking at appeal, looking at magnetism. All of those are synonymous for just showing what attraction is here. Note that love was not found as a synonym in regards to attraction from this particular source. So, could hate also be an attraction? And can hate be physical? Love is also a person, as it's noted in its meanings. A person that you love. Love is a kind and helpful person. Love is an expression. Love is an expression of love and affection. What is affection? Okay, affection is communication, articulation, verbalization, enunciation, conveyance, declaration, voicing, pronouncement, statement, utterance, elucidation, formulation, phrasing, or wording. In other words, we can infer that love is not only an emotional drive, but to be conveyed in words, which in that essence is still physical. Love is also a feeling, particularly a feeling of great interest, affection, or enthusiasm. And then lastly, love is a score of 0 in tennis. So when we go back to the questions of how love is relative to physical neglect, neglect in general and physical neglect in particular, throughout the meanings that we just explored, and throughout what love means distinctively from what was highlighted in red, throughout those meanings, is love solely emotional? Were the meanings that were supplied that we just viewed concluding or evaluating that love is solely physical? Or is love both emotional and physical? Okay, so having explored those beforehand, feeling and affection, is feeling and affection emotion, or are they physical? And could they be physical emotions? Okay, could they be both? And they can be both. Love feeling is not always just what you experience in terms of your mindset. I believe that it is also physical. Affection is definitely from a hug or a kiss or a handshake or a fist bump. Those are all forms of affection that are probably more so than not physical than anything. So, having said that, for this entire meaning, if love is a feeling, and it's a feeling or affection for someone else, and it doesn't, within this meaning, I realize now that it doesn't really have to just be a person, it can be an animal, um, it can be a pet, one's pet. So, in that regard, yes, it's both physical and emotional. All right. Going back to the second meaning and the second direct meaning of what it is, love is an attraction. So, is an attraction that includes sexual desire, but it's not limiting here to saying that an attraction is solely a sexual desire. If love is an attraction, is an attraction just emotional? Is an attraction just physical? Or is it both? We explored earlier what an attraction was, and among many of its meanings or synonyms, love was not noted. And we asked if hate could also be an attraction and if hate could be physical. And yes, attraction can be both physical, especially in terms of a sexual desire, or it can be emotional. Because if you think about it, it is one's display of affection. For example, through a hug or a kiss or a fist bump or a handshake that allows one person or to be able to display that affection going from that one person or pet to someone else or something else. It is the attraction that initiates the affection that is being displayed. So trying to understand if it is both physical and emotional, then it is both physical and emotional. The third meaning denoted that love is a person. But again, just now having explored deeper another aspect of this meaning of what love is, love does not just have to be a person one loves. I mean, if a person, or in this case an etymologist, decides to denote the meaning of love to one's pet, then how could that meaning not qualify to denote such a meaning? He or she or a common person may feel that way about his or her Labrador retriever, or about a fish, or whatever. So this meaning does not have to qualify that a person can only be loved. Anyway, nevertheless, is it emotional? Is it physical, or is it both? Or in this case, is a person emotional? Is a person physical? Or can a person be both? And yes, once again, a person can be both physical and emotional. A person has emotions as well as animals have emotion. At least I believe. To say that love is a person, quote unquote, solely, I disagree with. Can a love, quote unquote, even be a flower? The flower can be a love because a flower is a symbol. It is not just an expression, and it is somewhat of a nonverbal expression of love. So a person can be physical. A person is a physical human being. A person is a human being that has the capacity to display emotions. Having said these things, a person can be both physical and emotional. All right, on to the the fourth meaning. Okay, a kind and helpful person. So we just pretty much explored that. So if that's the same, uh, the notion that a person is a love, in this case, a kind and helpful person, describing that. Again, it's without a shadow of a doubt that a person is both physical and emotion, as we just noted. Earlier from slide 28, I concluded that love is to be conveyed in words, which is essentially still physical. Because words are supplied by our tongues and our thoughts, they are expressions. In turn, loving words in particular and words in general are both emotional and physical. So, yes, love as an expression of love and affection is both physical and emotional. So, what is a feeling, and how are interest, affection, and enthusiasm physical and/or emotional expressions? From Merriam-Webster Collegiate Thesaurus, second edition, copyrighted in 2010, page 414. A feeling is a subjective response to a person, thing, or situation. Feelings, plural, are general emotional condition. Interest is to hold the attention of, page 596, says see love number one and see inclination number one for synonyms on page 25. And enthusiasm is number one, a practice or interest. And number two, urgent desire or interest. And number three, depth of feeling, page 370. Therefore, all justifying their connection to feelings as emotional and to motion and interest in a person could be to call a person by telephone, by cell phone, whatever, and to be enthused to speak to him or her and to say, hey, how are you? Are expressions of affection. Therefore, justifying the connection of interest, enthusiasm, and affection to feelings as physical. Point made. So, yes, love as a feeling of great interest, affection, or enthusiasm for something is both physical and emotional. Love is a score of zero in tennis. This meaning of love is not related to meanings 1 through 6 that we're exploring in terms of what it is to be neglected in general and physically neglected in particular. So, of course, this meaning pretty much, of course, I included it because that was part of all of the meanings that was supplied by the source from the beginning. But I did want to, of course, explore the idea that within all of those meanings, within this, with the exception of this one, of course, is not related to what we're trying to explore as far as the topic. So another evaluating point of concern regarding what is love is it is more than bodies. It has to be more than our bodies because if it is both physical and emotional, uh, and we leave out the aspect of it being physical, and we heighten the idea that it can be emotional, then it has to be more than just our bodies. It has to be more to us than our bodies, which we are our minds, we are our hearts, we are our spirits, and we are our souls, which goes deeper into another understanding. We are energy. We are so much more than who we are physically. And once we begin to gain the understanding that uh, we are bigger than race, we are bigger than skin tone, we are bigger than religion, we are bigger than uh, our gender, we are bigger than our sex, we are bigger than our sexual orientation, we are bigger than our socioeconomic status, we are bigger than our place of geography. When we realize that, we realize, at least for me, that there are more important matters to who we are, not only genealogically, but also who we were before we came on this planet. So that's, I didn't really expect, to be honest, to uh, find just within the meanings of trying to understand how love is an absence and what love is an absence within physical neglect that could lead to, uh, I don't want to say minor traumas because traumas obviously convey that it's something serious, but sometimes we don't realize that we haven't healed from things because it could be a pathology or a family. Uh, I don't want to say a curse, but it could be generational what we're experiencing. I think sometimes that we carry that over from one child to uh, the next descendant and the next descendant after that without realizing that we didn't fix the issues of who we were, or our grandparents or our great grandparents or our further foreparents didn't finished tending to the matters that they needed to tend to emotionally and physically. And so, because of that, I think it carries over to who we are and who we become until it gets to a point in which something has to occur in life to get our attention that we need to fix our line. I mean, when I mean our line, we need to fix our genealogical line. But it also means that we need to fix our spiritual lines, our lines in which we may have been who we were uh, in other forms, in other being possibly other forms of identity other than who we are today, before who we were before we are who we are today, if that makes sense. So yes, I mean, I didn't realize that really exploring just, opening a dictionary, how powerful words could be, that when you are trying to explore and evaluate the work that I feel like I've been called to do, uh, would help me to understand that yes, I mean, we are just more than our bodies, and if we are our collection of what we feel, what we think, uh, in our souls and our hearts and our minds, and everything else that's physical, and in our physical aspect is a part of that, then we have to be just more than just our bodies, and that our bodies are we have neglected as a species, and not only our species, I believe in possibly plants and possibly, other uh, animals that have neglected who they are uh, with, and because of that, we experience whatever trauma that there is. It's almost like a storm erupting or a catastrophic event that will lead you to understand that you need to reach back. That's why history is so important. Not only just, history that is taught in schools, just of countries or places. I would say of countries or world history, but also just to explore who we are as a person, our personal history before we uh, came into being through a family, that history as well, but also the history of who we were before, uh, or besides, I should say, or independent of, I should say, of our families. Who were we as individuals before our families, and as of being a member of a particular family that we're born into. So, having said that, again, please, you know, add comments, questions, because I want to know more about this. Again, I feel like because of my circumstances that I'm facing and dealing with in life presently, that every strength is every weakness. And even though it has been a lot of trauma regarding what I'm going through, it's a blessing. It's an anointing because it helps me to understand the work that I need to complete that has been building up from generations of my own physical family that I was born into, but also, uh, you know, generations of beings and physical, non-physical, human and non-human before I came. So yes, so this is really good information, and it just stands out to understand how much can be supplied through words and how words can have such power, and that so many authors and novelists and just writers in general have uh, helped us to really solve a lot of the problems that really should be already have been dealt with by now if we just use our skills of reading. Reading and knowledge is power, as it has been said in so many ways. So yes, we are energy. Thank you for spending time with me today to really analyze and understand what love is. This is a journey for me. It's not just a professional journey, but it's a personal journey. So I hope that you learned and discovered just as much as I did about what love is. And I want to continue to go in depth on how the degrees and extents of its absence, that is neglect, can affect the outcomes of neglect. More importantly, how can we reduce and ultimately extinguish neglect to create a more empathic and emotionally healthy society in order to survive and thrive as humans and as spiritual beings? So, more on this for societal healing will come soon. Take care. Up next is what love is as an action. I'm not trying to decide between to do what love is as an action because I kind of did it within this one, but I may do it as a separate. I haven't decided it yet. Or uh, what love is not. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I hope that you learned something. I know that I did. You know, just by doing this and going through this research, like I said, it's not just professional, it's personal to me. And you know, I want to do all I can as a spiritual being to help our species survive before it's too late. And all of us have a responsibility in that. So again, thank you for your time and take care and be blessed. Thank you.